We have started about the living world, the chapter living world, and we have completed the systematics topic of systematics. So initially, I'll just go with a brief explanation about all the topics which we have discussed earlier in the earlier videos. It was about how what is biology, that is how did we deal with biology, and how it is living world, what is living world, that is organisms which are present in sea, freshwater bodies, backwards, coal, mountains, apart from earth, like apart from the normal earth era, what are the organisms which are found in this environment could be studied. That is nothing but, and the organisms which are studied in these varieties or in these places, that includes what is life, and what is characteristics of the living. We have studied about 5 characteristics of the living, that is growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness. What is growth? Living organisms grow, develop, and eventually die. Every organism has a birth and a death. So growth is the main equation for every organism to live on this earth. Next, reproduction. To increase the generation of an organism, every organism requires a reproduction. Unless and until there is a reproduction, the generation cannot be proceeded further. So next, metabolism. What is metabolism? Living things, living organisms usually depend upon food and energy for their survival. So whenever we eat food, the food in our body is digested and metabolized into some other ingredient, so that it can be utilized by our body. For example, the food directly, whatever we eat, cannot be utilized directly by our body. It is converted into some blood or some other component, so that it can be utilized by our body in the form of a blood, so that it can be taken by different organs and it is utilized. So next, cellular organization. I already told you that small cell, a single cell cannot, without a single cell there is no body. So a single cell comprises of many tissues, many organelles, many cell organelles. So inside a tissue, inside the cell, you have mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, ribosomes, etc. So all these constitutes of a cell. So then inside a group of cell comprises of a tissue, then tissues to organs, then to organ system, then to a whole human body. So consciousness, that is nothing but touch, feel of touch, or awareness of anything that could be done with human beings and animals. Whereas plants also have certain amount of consciousness towards certain stimuli. Okay. So we have studied in brief about growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness. And also we have studied about diversity is nothing but varieties of plants and animals living on this earth, and what is the need for the classification to be done. Next, nomenclature and the rules of nomenclature, which are very important. I already told you, according to ICBN, that is International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. According to those rules, we have 5 rules, that is scientific names should be arranged in a proper manner, that is 2 names, a generic name and a specific name is written, and these names are Latin names and should be written in italics when printed, and it should be underlined when handwritten. And always the rules, according to the rules, scientist name should be written at the end of the biological name, or the name of any organism or an ingredient. Okay. So we have studied about taxonomy, what is the need for the taxonomy, and what are the principles and procedures of the taxonomy. That is nothing but identification, nomenclature, classification, and affinities. Next, systematics. What is the basic study for systematics? Nothing but it is the branch of biology that deals with cataloging plants, animals, and other organisms into categories that can be named, remembered, compared, and studied. That is nothing but we need to catalyze, nothing but we need to organize plants and animals into certain orders, so that you can easily go and study them and compare and study them. For example, if there is a library, in the library there are certain sections where books are arranged. Like for example, you have a particular section for comic books, you have a particular section for novels, you have a particular section for science or fiction books. So that, why do we have a particular section? So that it can be easily available. Like you can go and just check for the label at the top of the bookshelf that these are the comic books. So you can directly go and take your book and go ahead with it. That's why these systematics is nothing but it's a science of biology that deals with study and comparison of various kinds of plants arranged in systematic way. Okay. Next, Now starting with a new topic, that is nothing but taxonomic hierarchy. What is taxonomic hierarchy? Is nothing but I gave you an example, a beautiful example of our country, India. India is a country. Just go through a term that take India as kingdom. Okay, you can see a classification, you can see a flow chart at your screens. So according to that screen, I'll just give you a basic example about it. So kingdom, behind kingdom you can just put a dash mark and write India. Then behind phylum you can write any district or sorry any state name. Like you can take an example of Hyderabad itself, or sorry Telangana itself. So kingdom is India, then phylum or division is Telangana, then class you can put as Hyderabad or Secunderabad or whatever. Then order more particular, like this place Padmanabhanagar, and more particular family, a small town, then class a small, then genus a small division, a small village, then species a very small village. So it is nothing but you are dividing a whole country. From a whole country you will be giving out a small cell, or you can say small village. So that is nothing but kingdom is nothing but a group, a large group of organisms which are present in the kingdom. Further, when you go further away, those kingdoms are being divided further according to their morphological, sexual and anatomical characters. According to these characters, according to their differentiation in the characters, plants are divided, plants as well as animals are divided into various other categories. So these other categories comes under the next genera. So initiating with the king, we'll go from ascending order. Ascending is nothing but from species to kingdom. Okay, from species. Species is the group of organisms which are closely related, very closely related. Whereas kingdom is the group of organisms which are diversely related. Diversely matlab very farly related. Like we have lot of in India. Basic example. I'll just give you a single example so that you can understand clearly. India, you have various other people in India. Like you have various hundreds. I mean, you have many languages. You know, we have many languages in India. We have many cultures in India. Whereas in species, that is nothing but in particularly in Hyderabad, you can see only most probably like 90% you can see three languages mostly available. That is Hindi, Telugu, and some other language. Okay, some native language. So these are nothing but from around 15 to 20 languages which are present in kingdom, that is India, to species, that is nothing but in Hyderabad, that is 2 to 3 languages. You can see the difference between that. So that difference between that kingdom to species can be related as closely and diversely related species. Okay. So species are the organisms or a group of organisms which are very closely related. Like you can see, you have very closely related species kept together. Whereas in kingdom, very sparsely related. Like you can see very sparsely related group of organisms are kept under the class called kingdom. Okay. Next we'll start with this topic, taxonomic hierarchy. So first we'll be going with the species, that is just now I told you that we are going through an ascending order, that is from species to kingdom. So species, it is the term which is given by John Ray. I'll give you a spelling, John, John, R-A-Y, Ray. John Ray is the scientist who had given the name called species. The term species is given by John Ray, whereas the definition, or you can say the biological classification or the biological definition, is given by Ernest Mayr. Spelling E-R-N-E-S-T-M-A-Y-R. E-R-N-E-S-T-M-A-Y-R. Ernest Mayr is a scientist who had given the biological definition for species. Okay. So what is the definition? Group of closely related organisms which can interbreed in nature and produce fertile offspring. What do you mean? The simple meaning of this definition is closely related. Matlab, you can see very closely related. You can compare them that only a few differences can be identified. A basic example of this I can give you is twins. You can see twins, they are almost the same, like almost the same. But you have very light difference among them. So these are closely related organisms which can interbreed in nature. What is mean by interbreed? Interbreed is nothing but which can be reproduced, which can be copulated, which can be interbred between the same species. For example, tiger. You have a tiger. Tiger can be interbred with tigress. Lion can be interbred with lionesses. Dog, a female dog. Cat, a female dog. Female cat, sorry. So, the organisms which can interbreed in nature, accordingly in the environment, you are not forcing on them or not you are imprisoning on them, you are just leaving it and it is going on in nature. So, closely related organisms which can interbreed in nature and produce fertile offsprings. What do you mean by fertile offsprings? Fertile offsprings are nothing but the generation or the children which can reproduce again. For example, if human beings, we are just interbreeding, we are just interbred from our parents, okay? So, we can produce next generation, okay? We can produce the next generation. That is nothing but fertile offspring. The organisms which can produce next generation are called as fertile organisms. But there are certain exceptions. The exceptions are, like I can give you an example, that is mule. What is mule? A male donkey when bred with female horse. A male donkey when populated with a female horse produces a mule. The offspring which is produced is called as a mule. This is done naturally. Naturally in the sense, in the nature. Like you are not forcing them. It is done in the natural. But there is an option, that is sterile. Sterile in the sense, these mule is nothing but this offspring, that is mule. This is called as hybrid. Why hybrid? Because it is not interbred among the same species, isn't it? It is not interbred among the same species. There is a difference in the species, that is, you are using a male donkey as well as and female horse. You are not using the same species. You are not using female donkey. You are using a female horse. That's why this is called as a hybrid. So, this hybrid mule cannot be fertilized or cannot be producing further offspring. So, this condition is called as sterile condition. I'll repeat once again. So, a male donkey and a female horse when interbred with each other, a new hybrid variety is produced, that is nothing but mule, which is sterile in nature, nothing but it cannot produce further offspring in the nature. So, next, the same thing, hinny. Hinny is nothing but male horse when interbred with female donkey. This will produce hinny, which is also sterile. Sterile in the sense which cannot produce further offspring. I have one more example for you, that is a tiger and a lion. I'll give you an example of a tiger and a lion. A tiger when interbred with a lionesses. A tiger when interbred with lionesses, which is done in captivity. Captivity in the sense which is these both are imprisoned in a cage or something like that. Okay, in a place or in a cage. These a male tiger and a female lion are imprisoned in a cage or in a closed room, or you can say. So this condition is called as in captivity mode. Okay, so in captivity mode these are produced, but the offspring which is produced is called as tigon. Tigon, T-I-G-O-N, tigon. Tigon which is produced from a tiger and a lionesses can be fertile. Fertile in the sense it can produce a new offspring. Now you will have a question that, ma'am, this is also this can be kept under exception. Yes, this can be kept under exception, but in the definition you can see that which can interbreed, organisms which can interbreed in nature. I told you in nature. So in captivity, I am telling you an exception called as in captivity. In captivity in the sense we are forcing them. We are going against them. So we are forcing on them. We are posing some pressure on them. So the pressure, the captivity mode does not come under this organisms. Okay. So, the organisms which are produced in captivity mode, I will tell you once again, that is a male tiger and a female lioness produce a tigon, whereas a female a lion and a tigress produces liger. So, these organisms are fertile in origin, that is they can produce a further offspring, but these organisms are exception because they are produced in captivity mode. That is, we are imprisoning them or we are forcing on them. But these organisms which are mule and hinny, these are produced through natural process, but they are sterile in nature. Whereas those organisms which are produced in captivity mode are non-sterile in nature. That is nothing but they are fertile in nature, but they are not in nature. They are not produced naturally. Okay. So you can take an example of species, group of organisms, that is species. Example, Panthera tigris, Panthera leo are the basic examples of tiger and lion, whereas Solanum tuberosum, Solanum nigrum are potato and brinjal. Next, Tigris leo tuberosum nigrum. These are called as specific names. What is mean by specific name? That is nothing but the second name of a biological nomenclature, of a binomial nomenclature. The second name, which consists of a small letter, is called a specific name. So this Tigris, Leo, Tuberosum, Nigrum are called as the specific name or a species name, whereas Panthera and Solanum are called as the generic names, which starts with a capital letter and the initial names. Okay, these names are called as the generic names. So, and the condition among which these organisms are interbred should be that the organism should be of same species and it should be producing the fertile offspring. The organism should have a same species and should produce a fertile offspring which can produce the further generation. And species are the group of organisms which are very smallest group of organisms and closely related, very closely related. You can see an example, Tigris and Leo. Okay, these are very closely related organisms which are kept under the category of species. Okay, next coming to genus. So what is genus? Genus is nothing but group of organisms. That is nothing but group of species which are kept together. Group of species which are kept together are called as genus. Give you an example, Panthera leo, that is nothing but lion, and leopard and tiger. These three organisms are of different species. You know, these three organisms, that is nothing but lion, tiger and panthers, that is leopards, are of different species. But all these are kept under a single genus, that is nothing but Panthera. Panthera is the single genus which is kept under the same category of all these species. Okay. So, animals which comes under genus Panthera share several common features and differs from genus Felis. Felis is a different class of organisms which differ from these Panthera. You can also say Panthera is a big cat family. Okay. So, this Panthera leo, Panthera leopard and Panthera tigris, Panthera pardus, all these organisms comes under the category of Panthera, whereas Felis is a different category and these two categories are kept under a single genus. Whereas, you can take an example of plants, that is nothing but potato, that is Solanum tuberosum, and Solanum melongena, that is brinjal. Solanum melongena is a brinjal. These two categories are also kept under a single genus, that is Solanum. You can see the common name at the initially. Okay, initially these both are kept under single common genus name, that is Solanum. Solanum is the common name. The species name, that is Tuberosum and melongena. I will give you an example again. See, in the previous slide you can see that there is a name called Panthera tigris, Panthera leo, Solanum tuberosum, Solanum nigrum. So in this you can see the common name, which is the common name among the lion and the tiger, that is Panthera. That means the genus name is kept the same, whereas the species name is changing according to the species, according to the generation, according to the organism. Similarly, in the plants also, you can see the species name, genus name is remained as same, but the common name, that is nothing but the species name is changing, that is Tuberosum and nigrum. Nigrum is nothing but the, you can see black nightshade, that is nothing but blackberries. Okay, so these organisms are changing. I mean, they are changed their names according to the species name and according to their genus name. Okay, So what is genus? Genus are the aggregates of closely related species. A basic example is Panthera leo and Panthera tigris. Whereas Panthera pardus, these comes under a single genus name, that is Panthera. Whereas Solanum comes under a category of potato and brinjal and flat nightshade. So these comes under a single category of Solanum. So next. Next we'll go with the family. What are family? Family is nothing but these are the organisms which are closely related with the genus. Okay, the organisms, or you can say the closely related group of organisms with genus are called as family, are kept under a single category called family. Basic definition is it is a group of related genera with less number of similarities. I just told you that as we go upstairs, that is nothing but as we go in an ascending order from species to kingdom, we will be decreasing the similarity among the organisms. The similarities among the organisms will be decreasing as we go higher in the category, higher in the hierarchy. Okay. So, basic examples of these organisms are family Solanaceae, which includes Solanum, Petunia and Datura, whereas family Falidae, which includes genera Panthera and Phallus. We have studied in the previous slide, that is Panthera consists of lion, tiger and leopard, whereas Phallus consists of cats. So these categories are being different. In the previous slide we studied that Panthera family is of different genus, whereas Phallus family, that is of different genus. But in conditions of family, these two conditions are kept together, that is Panthera family as well as Panthera genus as well as Phallus genus are kept in a single family. These two are kept under a single family, whereas Solanum and Petunia are kept under a single family. Okay. So I'll give you one more example of this, that is the rose family, the family of plants which consume the plants which of rose plants, that is all the roses. So you have various different kinds of roses you can see in this, in your surroundings. So all those roses, white rose, pink, yellow, you have different colors of roses. All those roses comes under a family of Rosaceae, whereas a family of pea plants, you know pea plants, peas. So a family of peas comes under a family of Fabaceae. A plants, or you can say the plants which comes under a pea family are called as Fabaceae. So families are nothing but groups of organisms with closely related, very less related similarities, which are nothing but closely related genera, group of genera which comes under together with less number of similarities is called as family. Whereas order, what is order? You can go upstairs as the hierarchy. Closely related families which are kept under single category are called as order. Closely related families which are kept under a single category are called as order. Okay. So a basic definition is assemblage of families which exhibits few similar characters. Just now I told you, as we go higher in the hierarchy, the similarities get decreased. So here also you can see assemblage of families. All the families like Solanaceae, Fabaceae, Liliaceae, all the families, some particular families comes together, and these categories are called as family order. So plant family belonging to Convolvulaceae, Solanaceae comes under the order called as Polymonials. I'll repeat, plant families Convolvulaceae and Solanaceae comes under the order called as Polymonials. Whereas animal families, that is Felidae and Canidae, comes under the order called as Carnivore. What is plant family? Plant family polymonials are nothing but these are the organisms which are very closely related according to their sexual characters. Okay, according to their sexual characters, polymonials are divided. So in this polymonials, you can see two types. That is, you can see the arrangement of flowers in the superior ovary. The ovary is superior compound ovary, and the flowers are adnate to the corolla. Flowers are adnate to the corolla, and the ovary is superior ovary. Whereas, and also one more category you can see spindles. Spindles is the category which is also present in Solanaceae family. which also consists of Convolvulaceae and Solanaceae families. So, Polygonals are is the order which comprises of Solanaceae and Convolvulaceae. I can say a basic example is Polygonals consists of organisms which have large trees and few shrubs with single compound ovary, whereas spindles is the class of organisms which produces woody plants and large bushy trees. Example, mango. You can take a basic example of mango, whereas in Solanaceae you can take a basic example of datura. Okay, so datura is a basic example of Solanaceae. So next, plant families. So plant families, I'll just give you a brief explanation about it. So you have various 9 families, that is 8 are basic and 9th one is miscellaneous. Whereas in the first one consists of beetroot family. What is beetroot family? The group of fruits or group of vegetables which comes under this category are beetroot, good king Henry, quinoa, spinach, Swiss chard, spinach beet. So this family is called as Chenopodiaceae family. The family which named after beetroot family is called as Chenopodiaceae family. The second one is cabbage family, that is Brassicaceae family or Cruciferae family. We call as both the names, that is Brassicaceae family and Cruciferae family. The fruits or vegetables which comes under the category as broccoli, cabbage, calabrese, cauliflower, kale, kohlrabi, mustard, oriental, radish and sprouts. All these comes under the category of cabbage family. Whereas the third one comes under carrot family, that is Apiaceae. The family name is Apiaceae or Umbelliferae family. So you can see the names of the vegetables or fruits which comes under the category: carrot, celery, dill, fennel, parsley, spanish. Next, daisy family, that is nothing but Asteraceae or composite family. Next, marrow family, onion family, pea family. Just now I told you about the pea family, that is Fabaceae, or you can also call the subfamily is also called as Papilionaceae family or Leguminosae family, which comes under various pea plants. Next, potato family, which comes under tomato, potato, pepper, chili, and pepper and chili. Next, you have miscellaneous organisms, that is corn, lambs, lettuce, New Zealand spinach, etc. So all these are the various kinds of families which have different names like Chenopodiaceae family, Brassicaceae, Apiaceae, Fabaceae, Solanaceae, Compositaceae, Asteraceae. So how these organisms are divided according to the families, which will be further you will be studying about this further in the further chapters. But according to these families, that is nothing but according to their genus name, according to their species, according to their characters, these organisms are kept under a single family. You can see broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower. Why these organisms are kept under a single family? Why? Because according to their some characters, some similarities according to their characters, some similarities among their origin or sexuality or diffraction, any similarity among their characters, because of which they are kept under a single family, similarly of different families. Okay, next comes under class. What is class? Class is nothing but it includes all related orders having few similar characters. Few similar characters, just now I told you that as we go higher, characters decrease. So all the families, or you can say all the orders, just now we have studied about the order, that is Polynomials and Carnivore. All these orders are kept under a single class. Few various orders are kept under a single class. Okay. I'll give you a basic example of plants, that is dicotyledons. Dicotyledons consists of 2 plants, just now I told you, polymonials and spindles. Polymonials are the organisms which are differentiated or attached according to their sexual characters. That is nothing but their flowers or their stamens are attached to the adnate corolla, and it has compound superior ovary. Superior compound ovary is present in case of polymonials, whereas spindles are large bushy trees with woody plants and climbers. You can see the examples, that is datura and mango. Whereas in animals, that is class Mammalia includes primates, that is monkeys, gorilla and gibbons, and carnivore. Mammalia includes both primates and as well as carnivore. Okay, so you can see a basic thing is all the organisms which comes under the organisms which are placed into different orders are put together to form a single class. You can say, I'll just give you an example of different sections. You have different sections in your school. So all these sections, but you have different, as though you have different sections, but you will be coming under the same class. That is, it will be a 9A, 9B, 9C, 9D. But ultimately, you all belong to ninth class, isn't it? Similarly, in this also, all these organisms which are present in the polynomials, pendales, families, lineages, all these comes under a single class. Okay, single class. Ultimately, they are kept under a single class, that is dicotyledons. Okay, dicotyledons. What is the definition of dicotyledon? Dicotyledon plants are plants which have two cotyledons in their nature. Okay, two cotyledons. Whereas monocotyledons are the class of plants which have single cotyledon. Single cotyledon. Okay, you will be studying about it in further classes. Dicots and monocots are different plants. Dicots are two cotyledons, monocots are single cotyledon. Okay, next. Next, you have phylum division, which includes very few similarities. Very few similarities in the sense you have very less similarities among the plants or animals among them. You can say examples. Phylum Chordata includes fishes, amphibia, reptilia, aves and mammals due to common feature, presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neural system. Presence of this notochord and as well as hollow neural system, the similarities, all these fishes, amphibia, reptiles, aves and mammals are kept under a category called chordata. Whereas next in plants it is angiosperms. Angiosperms, you have one more category called as gymnosperms. Gymnosperms are non-flowering plants, whereas angiosperms are flowering plants. So in angiosperms you have dicots and monocots. Just now I told you that is dicots are two cotyledons, monocots are single cotyledon. Okay. So why do we kept it? Why did we kept it in angiosperms? Dicots and monocots both are flowering plants. Whereas gymnosperms, you have a second category, angiosperm and gymnosperm. These gymnosperms are non-flowering plants, whereas these angiosperms are flowering plants. Okay. Next you have kingdoms. What is kingdom? Kingdom is nothing but group of all the phyla which are kept under category called as kingdom. You have two kingdoms, animal kingdom, plant kingdom. Animal kingdom consists of chordata. Just now we have studied about the chordata. Chordata includes fish, amphibia, reptiles, aves, mammals. Whereas kingdom includes, you have different categories like chordata, mollusca, Canodermata, porifera. So all these phylums or divisions are kept under a single kingdom called as animal kingdom. And one more, I'll give you one more definition. Why did I keep phylum or division? Is phylum is placed for animals, whereas division is placed for plants. I forgot to tell you about that. That is phylum. The word phylum is given for division of animals, whereas the word division is given for the division of plants. Okay. So next, coming to kingdom, highest category of taxonomy. Highest is topmost category of taxonomy is kingdom. That is, you have two kingdoms in that, plant kingdom and animal kingdom. In animal kingdom, you have kingdom Animalia, whereas in kingdom plants it is kingdom Plantae. Okay. In animal kingdom, you have chordata, mollusca, echinodermata, porifera, etc. And next in kingdom plant, these are multicellular. What is the differentiation between animal kingdom and plant kingdom is, you have various kinds of other categories in animals. But in plants, you have multicellular organisms. Plants are usually multicellular organisms with walled and frequently vacuolated eukaryotic cells. You can see vacuolated eukaryotic cells present inside the plant cell. And these can photosynthetic. These are the photosynthetic organisms, whereas animals doesn't takes place. Sorry, photosynthesis does not takes place in animals. Whereas the main feature between animals and plants is the photosynthetic pigments, that is chlorophyll, is present in the leaves of the plant, that is in the plastids of the plants, whereas it is absent in animals. Okay. The principal mode of nutrition is photosynthesis. Of course, without photosynthesis, no plant can survive. Okay. So the main feature is these contain plants, that is nothing but plants contain photosynthetic pigments in plastids, and it is the basic mode of nutrition in photosynthesis. Whereas these are primarily non-motile and live anchored to a substrate. What is a substrate? Mud. Mud or soil is the substrate for the plant. These cannot move. Non-motile in the sense plants cannot move. Plants are immovable. You can see plants cannot move from one place to another unless and until you remove them or you make them move. So Plants are immovable. They are non-motile in nature and they are anchored. Anchored is nothing but attached to a substrate. The substrate, the substance which acts as a substrate is mud or soil. Okay. So the plants are primarily non-motile and live anchored to the substrate. That is nothing but mud or soil. So reproduction is primarily asexual or sexual. Asexual is nothing but from a single parent you can produce offspring. Whereas sexual reproduction, two parents constitute to form a new offspring. Okay. So two parents constitute to form a new offspring. You call that sexual reproduction. Whereas in asexual reproduction, a single parent is involved to produce new offspring. In animals, it cannot be possible to produce asexual through asexual reproduction. It is only possible in animals to produce through sexual reproduction, where two parents are involved to produce new generation. Whereas in plants, there are some certain plants or certain organisms which are produced through asexual reproduction. And so, with this, we will be finishing with the kingdom hierarchy of taxonomical category, that is kingdom, phylum or division, class, order, family, genus or species. Species are the closest related group. Just as I told you, as we have studied further, you can see the closely related organisms are kept under species, whereas as farly related organisms are kept in the category of kingdom. Okay. And kingdom is the smallest group of organisms, whereas species is the smallest group of organisms, whereas kingdom is a large group of organisms. Okay, and you can take down the notes accordingly in the through the PPT, and also you can study about all these organisms in the textbook as a one more example. You can see taxonomic hierarchy of a basic example of a single plant. It is Magnifera indica. Magnifera indica is nothing but mango. You can see a basic according to the hierarchy, that is kingdom, plantae, division embryophyta, that is angiosperm. Told you angiosperm, flowering plants. So the division is angiosperm, that is embryophyta, which comes under the class dicotyledon. Dicotyledon is two cotyledons, which comes under order spindale, which is family Anarchidaceae, genus Magnifera, and species comes under indica. Okay, so what is this what is this plantae, division, class, order and family comprises of is? Plantae is nothing but the kingdom of plants, whereas the division is embryophyta, whereas the class is dicotyledon, and order comes under spindales, and the family is Anarchidaceae. The genus is Magnifera and indica. Species is indica. The Magnifera indica is the specific name or the binomial name of